and we're moving in the opposite direction that the rest of the world is doing. So if they're giving us a subsidy to buy gold and silver at these levels because they're going to try and make things look better than they are, to secure big bonuses for Wall Street, or whatever the reason is, it's a gift. Yeah, it gets old and long in the tooth sometimes, but look at these things that are...
Welcome to a crucial update with Andy Schectman. In today's video, we confront a stark reality. The U.S. has surpassed a 130% debt to GDP ratio, a point of no return, according to Andy. As he unfolds the historical parallels, revealing that nations hitting this ratio rarely recover, a sobering truth emerges. The awakening to the precarious fiscal state of the U.S. is underway, with profound implications for the U.S. dollar. According to Schectman, we've crossed the Rubicon, and as history suggests, the path ahead points either to default or hyperinflation. Join us as we navigate the uncharted waters of economic reality with Andy Schectman.
He's right. I mean, look, they're manipulating in the short run, but the consequences or the damage that they're doing in the long run is horrific. These people have absolutely zero fiscal restraint. They spend money and go deeper into debt. In other words, monetizing the Federal Reserve, buying the back end of the bond market, as if there will never be any consequences. And I think it's truly ignorant. And I think these people are chronic liars by the way that they have doctored the gauges for measurement of things like inflation. They talk, for example, the strength in the dollar as an example. And you could say that in many respects is illusionary, a country that is now $33.7 trillion in debt. And they've added more than $500 billion to the debt just in the month of October. But the strength of the dollar with this inordinate, unjustified, unbacked strength of the dollar is what has brought the CPI down, which is a lie anyway, from 9% earlier in the year to 3% now. It's a lie. And when you look at the amount of debt that they are adding on to this, it's only a matter of time before the dollar loses its strength globally, as there are challengers that are chipping away at the dollar hegemony over and over and over again. We've discussed this, and that's coming. And is just the fact that with every one of these manipulations, as Gregory's talking about, he's right, they're manipulating it into the end of the year, but with every one of these immoral acts, they put us deeper and deeper and deeper in the hole. As an example, the Congressional Budget Office is already projecting that by 2031, that's just a couple of years away now, 6-7 years away, that the government will spend 100% of all the tax revenue that it brings in just on mandatory entitlement programs like Social Security and the rising interest on the debt. These artificial purchases of the back end of the bond market to lower rates. And now you're going to see the yield curve start to re-invert again instead of uninvert, because it was the back end rising that was uninverting the yield curve. It wasn't the fact that what we normally see is the Fed coming in and lowering the short-term interest rates. That's not happening. This is all more, it's just not natural. And the more that you do to mess with the markets and Mother Nature, if you will, the greater the consequences in the end, at the expense of future generations for sure. But this is accelerating to the point where this will be something that we're all going to witness here, I think, before very long, as the rest of the world just becomes tired of manipulation, of deceit, of the transition, if you will, from Bretton Woods 2 to Bretton Woods 3. Bretton Woods 2, a system that you could argue has been dominated by the lack of transparency in debt instruments, into one that will be transparency in commodities. And we're moving in the opposite direction that the rest of the world is doing. So if they're giving us a subsidy to buy gold and silver at these levels because they're going to try and make things look better than they are, to secure big bonuses for Wall Street, or whatever the reason is, it's a gift. Yeah, it gets old and long in the tooth sometimes, but look at these things that are rapidly approaching, these mathematical unavoidable Rubicons that once you cross over, you don't come back. Just like the 130% debt to GDP ratio that we are at right now. There's never been a country ever that's crossed that line and hasn't defaulted, either by outright default or hyperinflation. So unless the laws of economics and of history are being rewritten, with the United States being the exception at this time, we see Russia increasing its gold reserves. If we are to believe the information the central banks are telling us, I think some of it's true. They're probably accumulating much more than they tell us, but they've increased it now to where it is the largest holdings in modern Russian history. So you have all of these countries and these institutions that are not only the biggest money in the world, but, arguably closest to the information. Certainly BlackRock, the largest hedge fund in the world, and the Russian central bank at the cusp of accumulating metal to break free from the Western hegemony. And the same thing is true of India and of Saudi Arabia and of China. These countries continue to load up on metal. So yeah, I do. I think it's no surprise. And again, you don't have to be much of an economist to understand that things are getting concerning in this country and around the world. So I think it just is logical that people are finally waking up to it. And even though they are waking up to it, most of them are waking up to it for different reasons than what we've been talking about, the same old information. Well, put it all together, and that same old information is really why people are waking up in a different way. I mean, it's the move away from the West and the Western system and the Western history in terms of its ideology, in terms of its morality, in terms of its character. It's all breaking down globally, whether it be internationally or domestically, and the manifestation of all of this chaos, of the lack of harmony and unity, and all of these things here domestically play into the de-dollarization globally. And whatever it is, it's waking people up. I think it's about time. And that's the only hope that we have is, knowledge is power. To take care of yourself and your family, get prepared. Get out of the way of what's coming, because the biggest money in the world, like the central banks, like the commercial banks, or the biggest hedge funds in the world, see exactly what's coming, and they're using the ignorance, I guess you could say, of the masses, the lack of integrity and honesty by the media, and the price suppression of the West to reposition, while the rest of us, most of us, not those listening to you, done again, but most people sit idly by and are going to get caught off guard by, something when something triggers this next whatever it may be, whatever that next may be. So yeah, the fact that people are waking up, great. I think it's about time. And yeah, these are the best premiums we've seen since 2019. They have not taken off yet. They haven't risen yet. If anything, they've stabilized at the bottom, as gold is real close to its all-time high. I think it's the fact that silver hasn't really done what people expect it to do yet, and I understand that, because it's been the majority of this industry's business for the past 3-4 years. So you got a lot of people that are a little bit, let's just say, disheartened by the lack of upside potential, or upside movement rather, not potential, but movement. But remember, it's not why we're buying it. We're not buying it to get rich. We're buying it because it is wealth. It will exert itself, but at the expense of a dollar that starts to lose ground from its lofty highs that we find it at right now.
As we conclude this eye-opening discussion with Andy Schectman, the warning signs are clear, and the path ahead is uncertain. We appreciate your engagement in this critical conversation. Remember, knowledge empowers. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and navigate the evolving financial landscape with clarity. Thank you for joining us. And until our next update, keep questioning, keep learning, and stay ahead of the curve. The future may be uncertain, but your understanding doesn't have to be. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thanks again.